Hi, Steve here at the SJCOE Fab Lab with some code. And it's going to be a little bit different code than usual. A lot of what we've been doing is all AppScript, because this is all about AppScript. But we're going to take a second and go from AppScript to some coding that your students might do with something called MakeCode. Now the reason we're going to do this is so that students can do some really cool science and data science. We're going to be working with data. We want to be able to gather that data both locally and from a remote source. So we're going to start with how students can gather that data locally. We're going to use a little circuit board, cheap little circuit board called the pybadge. Really, this could be done with all types of circuits, from a $5 Raspberry Pi Pico all the way to, well, this. But different types of Arduinos would be great as well. Anyway, I like this device. One, because it has this neat screen, so students can design an interface that works for them. It has all of the space in the world to add in extra sensors. In fact, I'm going with a temperature sensor. So we're looking at how we could gather temperature data in order to do an experiment with the flow of energy, specifically heat. All right, so what I've done is I've wired to the back of my device, going to ground and power and analog to this temperature sensor, and they're very cheap, less than $1. Okay, let's go ahead and get started coding to gather this data. I'm going to go to, right here I'm at makecode.com. I'm going to click on arcade and new project so I can show you how it starts. All right, so there's a couple things I'm going to need. The first is I'm going to need to be able to gather data from a pin. So I'm going to go to extensions. Specifically, I want the feather pinout, and now I can gather pin data. But I also want something to show up on the screen. So I'm going to create a sprite to say something. This isn't key, it's a design choice. I'm going to choose which sprite I want. It's getting close to lunch here, so I'm going to choose a hamburger. Okay, that's what's going to show up on my screen, a little hamburger. And I'm going to have the hamburger to give my information. So let's say, I want my sprite.
Let's say for now, whenever a button is pressed.
What data do I want it to say? Well, let's say for now,
let's try out the computer model on the screen here.
Button is pressed.
You hit the A button. Oh, has a smiley face. I only want that to show up for a little bit.
Let's try out
so
computer model on the screen.
Say show up for 1 second.
You hit the A button. Oh, has a smiley face. I only want that to show up for a little bit, so I'm going
I can check my data.
Show up for 1 second.
When I press the button, I'll know if there's a change in value. Okay.
That way.
So that's great. I can get to say a smiley face. Well, how can I get to do something? Well, I've wired this sensor again.
So that's great. I can get to say a smiley face. Well, how can I get to do something useful? Well, I've wired this sensor again to pin A2. So, and it's kind of hard to see on the video probably, but there's a little A2 next to right there. In fact, here's an image of the pinout. We can just go ahead and put the wire into high voltage, another wire to ground, and another wire to A2. But it depends on the sensor that you get. That tends to be often how it works. I'm going to click on pins, and I want to read analog data here, specifically from pin A2. And that's it. It'll show up on the screen whenever I hit here. Now, this model is saying that the reading is 0. The reading will be something in reality. Okay, there's one more thing that I want to happen. I want to be able to type into a spreadsheet, say a Google Sheet, for instance. So I'm going to get one more extension. Let's see, I want human input device, specifically a keyboard. Where's the keyboard? Probably already scrolled by it. There we go. All right. Now what I want to happen is it's just going to constantly, let's say, every 5 seconds, I want it to type this data into the computer. So now I'm able to add this data into my spreadsheet. And, you know, since we do a lot of app script, I'm going to switch over to JavaScript, which works out well for me because now I can just edit this. I'm going to say, you know what, I want to add in a tab, /G's for tab, and then the word temp, and then enter /n. So I'm going to type in a value, I'm going to tab over, I'm going to type the word temp. Now, the next video will show why it's so important to type in that word temp. I got something pretty cool. Remember, these are escape characters, so /n is enter, so we want to enter, and /d is tab, so we're going to go to the next entry. So now I could, you know, have a ton of sensors, all that I want, and put that data together, tab, 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 and just have a row going along. All right. This is a chance to try out something new, try out a little bit of hardware. That gives us a chance to gather data and do hands-on science. Have fun.